Okay, hey, welcome to another episode of On the Road from Off the Cuff. Today we have a really special one for you. I know I normally don't do unboxing videos, but this is a limited edition, and it came with quite a different kind of packaging setup than my original Zodiac Super Seawolf. For those of you that went into this video completely blind, this is a little kind of what's in the box in terms of the new for 2021 limited edition Super Seawolf World Time Watch. So I did want to share this with you guys. I was very fortunate in terms of being able to actually get my hands on this piece prior to release. So I have spent a little bit of time with it. Haven't got together my full review yet, but I did want to share it for you guys. So number one, big thank you to the Fossil Group and Zodiac Watches for being able to get this to me so quickly. That was really awesome, and I really do appreciate it. So with all that said, let's go ahead and dive in to what we have here. So we'll go ahead and pull the top off, and so we can see a very cool sticker there. And then you also get this really nice microfiber cloth that is not only quite handsome in tying in within the color palette and theme, it's actually pretty useful because you can see a nice breakdown of those actual time zones. Very cool. So I'm sure you guys will see that pop up as a future backdrop on the full review. But in the meantime, let's see what else is in here. Of course, we get a little world time behind the design. Instruction manual, very nice from that standpoint. Also, we get a little pamphlet, essentially, kind of just makes it easier to use in terms of how to work the world time feature. And I will be the first one to tell you, I'm not some jet set globetrotter. Yes, I've done my time crossing time zones in the Marines, going to not fun places around the world. But you know, I was normally wearing a G-Shock for those types of moments. But now, whenever things open back up around the world and, you know, me and the fam can start traveling again, definitely looking forward to using this feature. And I'm typically kind of a standard GMT hand guy, you know, in terms of the 24-hour tracking. So I actually did have to do a bit of learning in terms of how to use the world time bezel, which I'll share with you guys briefly here in this kind of unboxing. So inside of the box, pull that aside. And as you can see, has a nice little sleeve. Again, all the color scheme, color palette, very nice, very handsome. Boom, inside a much different box. So the box that my regular Super Seawolf came in, which I shouldn't say regular because it's a pretty sweet watch, don't get me wrong. Oh, actually, one thing also to note is inside of the slip, you can see they even go the extra mile and add the actual, it echoes the design there with the time zone layout. So very cool. And I can appreciate those little details. Also, there's a little sleeve, there's a little shelf in here for a more standard kind of Zodiac paperwork for their automatic watches. And then you get the box, which is a lot different. Like the one that I had on the other one was definitely, you know, it's just wooden box with some kind of metal look plastic. Here you're getting something that's a little bit more fabric wrapped, more low key, but inside definitely quite plush and premium feeling, so I can appreciate that. And there you have it, guys. Now we get to the meat of this little sneak peek. Check that out. And one thing I will say is that the photos of this watch do not do it justice. Even the super high class ones, look at that dial. It is a beautiful gray sunburst dial. It looks fantastic. The color palette on here is amazing, and again, it ties in to this great, you know, different tones, tone on tone of grays, as well as pops of red and then black with white. So this thing is really, really cool, and I'd say initial draw before I get into my kind of full feedback on the eventual full review here. The main thing is that this thing is really versatile, and I like that. I like that it stands out in terms of its design aesthetic. It has a lot to say, but it's not shouting at you. It's not super loud. There's tons of visual play and, just things, little interesting details that you can look at, which is great. There's a lot of information, of course, on that bezel and even on the dial. And I like that it's visually interesting and it's engaging to look at, but it can melt away as well because of the really smart color palette. Now, typically, when it comes to these limited edition Zodiacs as of late and some of their collaboration pieces, they're very loud color palettes, and honestly, you almost have to get like the matching shirt or just be that type of guy to have something that's really shouty like that. And in this case, what I really enjoy is that it still looks and feels as special as some of those louder, more colorful summer vibe type watches, but it's actually super wearable. Like, this thing can really go with anything. I mean, look at that color palette there. It's something that is definitely in style and in vogue currently right now and is trending. So to give a sneak peek into a full review, this is your limited edition Super Seawolf World Time, and it recalls directly from their vintage 1970 Super Seawolf models, but more modernized and sized up to 40 millimeters versus the original 36 millimeter. You can get these direct from Zodiac for $17.95, which is quite a deal considering that it is a Swiss-made GMT watch, World Time feature. It's 40 millimeters and it's only 13.3 millimeters thick with a 47.6 millimeter lug to lug 316L surgical grade stainless steel, guys. It has a 24 click bidirectional bezel, which is outstanding. So a lot of the times when companies will do this whole, hey, let's turn a diver into a traveler's watch. Let me get the camera to, if I can get it to focus again. Sorry. There we go. So whenever how dare you, camera? It's just, this is such a cool thing. Like, the camera wants to focus on it. So let's do this. Boom. Keep that centered. It'll stay on it. So, sorry about that. Again, off the cuff being the key word. So, a lot of the times when you take these divers watches and then you add a GMT movement to them, they'll still have basically a dive time bezel. So unidirectional, only one direction, 60 click or 120 click. And it's just not optimal for tracking multiple time zones. It's more of an afterthought. Here, Zodiac did the work, so I can appreciate that. So you're getting a 24 click bezel here, bi-directional, can go either way. Everything lines up perfectly. One thing I will show you guys really quickly how this whole thing works for those of you that might be like me and not really used a World Time bezel before. Essentially, you still have your standard hour, minute, and seconds hand, and then you have your 24-hour GMT hand. So the thing is with the bezel, it's just an active bezel, essentially. You can't like set it like you could with a 24-hour bezel and it kind of still read the right way. In this case, it's going to be setting it based off of what your current time is. So right now, I'm recording this in California on Sunday, the 4th at essentially, it's about 10. Sorry, I'm like, my brain is having a little bit of inception. I'm like looking through the little flip out screen, but then also looking down at the watch. I'm gonna try to just read from the lookout screen, but it's basically almost 10:45. So it's 10:42, 10:43 and some change, somewhere in that space. So it's 10 a.m. So, and I'm in, so the Los Angeles, since I'm in West Coast time, Pacific time, I would want to set that there. So, so 10, actually it's almost 11. So let's say essentially, oh, let me get the grip on it. Sorry, a little warmer today. So then let's see, where'd LA go? There's Los Angeles. So it's about to be 11 essentially, right? So now, sorry about that. The camera, come back to me. Maybe I'll just manually force it. There we go. So essentially now you'll put that at 11, right? Because this is a 24-hour scale, so it's not going to be at 11 o'clock like your hand is about to be at. It is going to be at 11 down here. And with that, now if I was to look at the East Coast time, which is in New York, there you have it. Now it lines up and it makes sense. So that's the cool thing, is that it is active and it is engaging in terms of that bezel action and what you can do. So those of you that are really big on just kind of fidget factor and tactile engagement with a watch, you're really going to enjoy using this 24-click bezel. It is a lot of fun, and it's just kind of cool. It just reminds me of being a kid and those little, little spy watches where you can decode things and everything. It's just, it adds a little bit of that play to it, which I can really enjoy. And, at the end of the day, do you really need a traveler's watch? Do you need a mechanical watch at all? I mean, these things are really meant for your enjoyment. It's not necessarily just a hardcore tool or necessity. It's something that you should be getting something back out of. And I will say that this Super Seawolf World Time has given me a lot back out of it already, and I've really enjoyed it. I'll make sure when I do the full review to wear gloves so you don't see all these fingerprints and everything. The cool thing is, comes with this great microfiber cloth, so we can keep that going and get it back to its original luster. But real quickly, for those of you that are wondering, in terms of the movement, it has a Swiss automatic Soprod C125, which is 4 hertz, has a 42-hour power reserve, 25 joules, hacking and hand winding, and an independent 24-hour hand. So it's going to be more traditional in terms of the Sorry, I was looking down at my notes and noticed that the camera got off focus a little bit there. So from that standpoint, it is going to be, more standard in terms of the movement, something really just like most, out-of-box GMTs that are out there. Most of them, I know some of you were looking for true GMTs where you have essentially the independent normal hour hand versus it being the independent 24-hour hand. This is not the case, but it really works and I dig it. And at the end of the day, it's just one of those things that's kind of like a no-date movement and ghost positions. A lot of it just becomes, just people's personal preferences and pet peeves that kind of become very popularized. So, there's people that would have never known the difference, or maybe if they were to design a GMT watch would have said, hey, well, I want the GMT 24-hour hand to be the independent one versus my active, my central hours hand. Then yeah, that's just my input though. I mean, is it cool when you have the fancier, more high-end stuff that you'll find in something like a Grand Seiko or a Rolex or an Omega? Sure, very, very cool. But in this case, this is also good, and it is, these types of movements have been around forever, and they have been popular, and they're in some of the great vintage watches, and the setup is still in some of the great vintage reissues and modern watches of today. So with all that said, guys, let me know what you think in the comments below. If you like the video, please do hit like, and if you haven't already, please subscribe for more content just like this. Thanks, guys.